What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Chione E1A 120R liquid cooler from GAMDIAS. This unit was provided to me from GAMDIAS for the purposes of this review, and pricing is actually currently unknown. So I wasn't able to find pricing on this newest model. The closest I was able to find was the non-RGB version. So the fan is RGB, but the CPU cooler is not RGB. That one on Amazon costs about $65. I put a link to it down below to the Amazon product page, but I was not able to find this specific product on Amazon yet. So let's start off by taking a look at the product itself. It's a 120 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. Comes with quite a bit of RGB, both on the pump and on the included fan. It is a 120 millimeter water cooler. So this is a 120 millimeter radiator, comes with a 120 millimeter fan, and I used it on an i7 8700K processor that's been overclocked to 5.1 gigahertz. So I really worked this thing out. Normally, if I was going to buy one of these for myself, I would go with at least a 240, 280, maybe even a 360 millimeter radiator for that overclock cooler. I will say this though, while temps ran hot, I did not have any throttling issues. I never hit any kind of, thermal throttling of any sort. So temps ran hot with this thing. I would recommend for a processor like the i7 8700K, a larger radiator, but we're going to be taking a look at the unit I have for this review. So what I want to say right off the bat was installation on this thing was kind of a pain. The main reason for that is there are no instructions in the box, and I was pretty disappointed by that. I looked through the box, no instructions, went to their website, couldn't find instructions on their website, and it actually wasn't until after I had the thing all installed and up and running that I noticed on the back of the box, there's a QR code that you can scan to get the instructions for installation of this product. Boy, I really would have liked to see installation instructions inside the box of this product, because installation was kind of a pain. There's a lot of wires to hook up because you have RGB both on the pump and on the included fan. You have an RGB controller, and of course you have a mounting bracket. The mounting bracket, on my first try of installing it, I mounted wrong, so the cooler actually sat about this high above the CPU, which obviously wasn't going to work, so I had to reverse the mounting bracket. I was able to figure out after about half an hour worth of work, but instructions included in the box would have really helped the whole process go a lot smoother. So in the future, would really like to see them include instructions, paper version in the box. Once it was installed though, I was pretty impressed with this unit. It looks great. If you like RGB, and I do like RGB, the fan has a ton of addressable RGBs all around it on both sides. And the unit itself, the pump itself, has a lot of RGB around it as well. It looked good. The logo is lit up. This ring around it is addressable as well. And using the included remote, which is kind of a cheap membrane remote, you're able to access 55 different lighting effects, which frankly, we're pretty varied. You can do rainbows, you can do strobing, you can do solid colors, you can do alternating 2 different colors. There's quite a lot of customizability available to you without having to use any software installed on your computer. So I kind of like that. The fact that I didn't have to install software on my computer to get the RGB effects going, I thought was a nice feature. Some pieces of software tend to run pretty heavy on a computer. The Aura Sync software, for instance, sometimes uses up to 11% of my CPU just for the lighting effects that it runs on the motherboard and on the RGB memory. So this, being an externally controlled RGB unit, actually is appealing to me, and it looked really good. I also really like this box. So this is the controller box. You plug the fan and the pump into here to control the RGB. And it was very small, very compact. It's about the size of a credit card and a little bit thicker. But what I really like about it is 2 magnets on the back. So to install this thing, you don't need any double stick tape or anything like that, as long as you have some steel on your case for these magnets to adhere to. Once you find a spot for it, you simply let it latch on with the magnets and it stays there. The magnets are strong enough to keep it held there pretty tightly, and if you want to move it, you simply pull it off and place it someplace else instead of having to peel off some double stick tape, or go find some more double stick tape. I really like these magnets, and I think that every product that has a controller box like this should learn from this. These magnets are fantastic. The remote itself has a ton of controls for the RGB, but the remote itself has a ton of different functions for the RGB, the fan speed. You can control all sorts of stuff with this RGB remote. I wish it wasn't such a cheap little remote, but it does what it needs to do. And frankly, most people are going to set this stuff and kind of forget it for the most of the time it's running. So it does what it needs to do. The fan itself is a pretty nice fan. It ran fairly quietly. There's RGB on both sides and 2 cables that come off of it, one for the fan control and one for the RGB control. Both of those cables, though, do combine into one connector and plug directly into the controller box. So I kind of wonder why they felt the need to have 2 cables. Why couldn't they just have one cable if it's going to be one connector that plugs into the controller box? Overall, I was very happy with the Chione E1A 120R. Now, for my purposes on my computer, I'd rather have a 280 or 360 millimeter radiator, but I do think that this unit was quite appealing. The RGB on the pump, the RGB on the fan, the fact that it's all controlled through this little controller unit with the magnetic mounting, I thought was a really slick setup with no software installation required on my computer. I really like this unit quite a bit, and I'm planning on building a 4-core 6700K processor-based system in a few months, and I'm thinking about using this cooler for that build. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.